Welcome to Oklahoma, and man, am I so excited to bring you inside to Southern Machine Works. Cameras have never been in here before, and they've been in business for over 60 years, so what an experience we all get to have today. Over 30 machines, 35 employees, and guess what? 25,000 plus square feet. Again, I reiterate, over 60 years in business. Let's step inside where Frank is waiting for us to give you a first-hand tour and see what's going on behind the electric doors of Southern Machine Works. Guys, I'm so excited to be here today. As you can see, digitalization everywhere, talking about Datanomix and what it's brought. I'm not even sure if they're going to let me in, but I hope so. Oh, no. Well, I think we're stuck outside today. Maybe there's not going to be a tour after all. I'd love to show you Southern Machine Works, but I think we got to leave. I apologize. Maybe we don't get to see Frank today, or maybe there's a side entrance. I'm not sure. I'm also not sure. Yes, they are going to let us in. I was a bit worried. Absolutely. We're here to do a little factory tour. Is that all right?
I don't know. Did you get signed in on everything?
I know how important it is for you guys, and yes, we did.
Come on in.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's go. Frank, my friend,
Hey,
thank you so much for having us in.
Yeah, it's worth it. Yeah.
Have you ever allowed cameras in here before?
Not really. So try to be fairly private. You know how we all are in the manufacturing industry sometimes.
You are so right about that. So thank you so much for opening your doors. There's a few topics we want to talk about, and NTMA will certainly be one of those. I see a Datanomix here as well. We love America and the American flag. Thank you for doing that. Let's have a slow walk so the audience can see all these incredible Mazak machines. But you have been in business a long time, over 60 years at this point, and you only look about 25 years old, so congratulations to you.
I don't know about that, but thank you.
I bring up the time frame because there are a lot of shops out there who have been in business about as long as you.
Right.
But I feel comfortable in this place, and they don't necessarily modernize their shop. Mm-hmm. They really get comfortable in an area because we like the comfort zone. Mm-hmm. So what made you get into the world, just the digital world, because we're going to go through Datanomix, Pro Shop, paperless parts, your partnership with NTMA, and how this all comes together into your products and what you're making here. Why do you continue, Frank, to slide into this world that's so important to understand the digital world to support your machine shop?
So it really came around to the kind of the development of Southern Machine Works as just a traditional job shop. You had your major customer less than a mile away. And so you never really had to work that hard to bring on business. And times change, you know? And so the old traditional model of just going to golf with somebody or going to lunch with somebody, it wasn't there anymore. So as I came from a accounting background, I was a CPA for a public accounting firm, is I knew that, you know, really there needs to be a different methodology. So I took and we started using technology at that point, which was, again, I came right after 9/11. And we didn't have any computers, didn't have any of that. And so just started doing that as just leveraging the ability to use data and not have to re-enter data. So, and over time, the customer acquisition is very difficult. So you have to be able to show them, your customers, what you're doing to make sure that you're running parts well, that you're running parts at a cost-effective manner. They want that. And that you're able to run them at inequality. So that's why we've used all the different tools that we have. Kind of a funny story is whenever we started that journey, I had customers that used to have different shoes that they would wear in Southern Machine Works. They would pull out their greasy, dirty shoes to come into Southern Machine Works because all the chips, because it was an old oil field. And now here we are, temperature controlled, painted floors, running completely different work. So, you know, but those are, you know, you have to get away from that era because you're just not gonna be able to continue, if that makes sense. So
it does make sense, and I want to stop right here a little bit because we have a great couple of cells behind us, and these are some of your newer machines. and we like a good background while we talk.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to bring up the combination of specifically Datanomix, paperless, ERP. They all work together.
They do.
Pro Shop with paperless. It helps with quoting. It helps with understanding your jobs, talking with some of your colleagues, spending time in your machine shop. You have a lot of folks that's one man, one machine. While we have automation behind us, which
Yes.
is why I wanted to highlight it.
Yes.
We are still, and you have over 30 machines, I believe.
Yes.
And so bringing this all together, you mentioned it slightly a second ago, and I loved it, Frank, when you said our customers want to know and hold us accountable for pricing to make sure we're doing everything
They do.
correctly. By understanding truly your machine shop, you can be honest with yourself, you can be honest with the employees, you can be honest with your customers, and truly understand moving forward, am I doing the right things by me, by my customers, and by the growth of my company? This all makes sense to me.
Yeah. So, again, over the last several years, really since COVID was something really changed in the way that we interact with our customers. I have one of my major customers that up until just a month ago, they had never been on my site, and I've been doing millions of dollars a year with them because COVID changed that environment. But how are they comfortable? How are they able to get comfortable with us as a business? Is well that we're able to take and show them via Zoom or Teams the ERP system that we're using and how we're tracking all of the IPCs in process checks, how we're managing their data. So you're right, it's a completely integrated shell now to where you're using a paperless product to make sure that you're saying, okay, this is about how long this part should take. This is a reasonable margin that we want. That's funneled into ProShop to generate the data that says this is how long we're going to put, and the team has to make it. And then the Datanomix is there as the backbone to say, okay, it's actually taken us this long to make it. Can we get better, or do we need to reevaluate our quoting structure? And then the final, so it all comes as a big circle. Everything comes around. So, but when I show say Datanomix is a great example, is the customers feel very comfortable that I'm doing what I can to make sure that I'm efficient and effective and I don't have a bunch of fat.
Mm-hmm.
They can look at it and I can show it to them and they say, yep, that he's not charging me too much or he's being reasonable. So
I love that you described it that way. And to bring this conversation kind of full circle from where we just were, trust is important. Trust is
Absolutely.
very important in what we make. And we used to do it on the golf courses, as you said a little while ago.
Right.
We used to do it at lunch or at dinners, and it still happens. I mean, you and I have some of the
No, it does.
similar friends out there,
Right.
right? But having that digital is how we create new customers, how we create long-standing customers moving into the future. This is what most people want globally as we're bringing in more business. So I love that you said that. Now, we can continue walking a little bit, and we're going to sidestep into the NTMA.
yeah,
Because speaking of good relationships, speaking of playing golf, speaking of spending time with friends, working with other people, speaking of this used to having chips everywhere and needing to change my shoes, Frank, and you have clean floors, NTMA is a big part of making that connection, and you use NTMA-U to make sure your skill set is always being brought up as well, right?
that's correct. So NTMA, I've been a member of NTMA since, for about 20 years. And one of the things that they looked at was that the members needed some way to train the workforce. Workforce is always important. I get frustrated when everyone complains about workforce but doesn't do anything about it. It's always going to be an issue, so what are we going to do about it? So whenever NTMA developed what they call NTMA-U, it was a 3-year journeyman machinist program. So I actually participated in the beta program for that, and one of my young men here had been with me for a decade, but it started out of high school, just being taught heuristically or just on the job. And when this program came up, he said, "Hey, I want to go through this program." So he was one of the first graduates of that program. So go forward 10 years, and the program needed a refresh. So I offered, or they asked, and I was more than willing to do it, can I provide a lot of the media for that program as they build it. And so that's going live in September, the brand new refresh of NTMAU. There'll be pictures of my machines running parts, my employees, and all that. But why is it important to me? Well, it's important to me is because I live in a southern rural community. So that's different than the Midwest. Midwest has a very strong apprenticeship program, right?
Mhm.
Well, the South doesn't have as strong of an apprenticeship program. So NTMAU allows me to find potential employees or employees that have a great skill set. They're smart people, but maybe they weren't machinists. And so then I can say, hey, I would love to bring you on board and or hire you to be a machinist, but let's train you up. And so through NTMAU, they're getting shop math, 3 semesters of that. They're getting blueprint reading. They're getting, including GD&T, metals. So that is all things that I'm able to help bring my employee skill set up in an environment that maybe people say, well, how do you find employees in a rural community with still a major employer that's going to take a lot of them, being, Halliburton.
I didn't know if you were going to say it out
No,
loud
that's
or
fine.
not,
They're
but-
right down the street. They can look me up.
Well, they have
Yeah.
10 acres of building. I mean, it's
Oh,
crazy.
they have a lot.
So
Yeah.
I can imagine. What a valuable insight to understand rural community, how NCMA can help. And let's go ahead and fine tune this conversation, Frank.
Sure.
And we're going to head over and take this final lap over
Yep.
here for your 25,000 square feet. Why do you need such high quality employees? You make incredible parts here. You have several certifications. You're continuing to grow. You have very specific goals here, and you need those high quality folks.
Right. So as a manufacturer in the United States, we must be realistic about what we can and cannot do. We will never compete with the very commodity-based product anymore. That's not, if it doesn't go to China, it's going to go to Vietnam or India. And so what we have to look at is we have to say, okay, what market can we compete in? We can compete where technology is important, precision is important. And so over the past, I'd say 20 years that I've been here, our level of tolerance has gone from the plus and minus 15,000s to the plus and minus 5s to the plus and minus halves to let's talk tenths. And so, so if you look at the markets that U.S. manufacturers can succeed in today, that may change in 5 years as we bring more on board from foreign countries. But it's the DoD, it's the aerospace, it's the space, and so all those industries require confidentiality. They require systems in place to prevent the stealing of trade secrets. So in that matter, you might consider us kind of in general a smaller shop than some of the larger ones, but to compete in that market, we've invested heavily in being ITAR registered. So ITAR registered doesn't just mean that I'm in the government system, but then I also have to be CMMC compliant, which is a new thing, which means that I am maintaining confidentiality for all of the customer's data, that I have cameras in the system, everywhere, that as you saw when you came in, I have site security. You have to log in. I have to know who you are, that you're not working for a prohibited country. So those are all things that we have to do, or that we're doing, that allows us to continue to meet the needs and increase our customers that are here in the United States that can't take that work anywhere else. So
Yeah, I was almost concerned you weren't going to let me in, actually.
No.
When we talk about these certifications, I worry, am I still qualified to get in? So thank you for letting that
Right.
happen. As we close out our last lap and we close out this tour and conversation, there's a lot of folks out there who are looking for a partner company like you, someone who has
Yes.
over 60 years of experience, someone who's invested multi-millions of dollars on very high quality, high tolerance machines, and has all the certifications that you've mentioned, and as you first started off with, trust, that we can trust you, that we can work with you. So for anyone out there who's watching this video, who's made it this far and wants to consider working with you, how can they find you? How can they learn more? Are you going to give them your home address or maybe just your website?
The easiest way is my website. So if you reach out to southernmatch.com, we have a contact us form. We can sign NDAs or get NDAs started right there. We typically want everyone to sign an NDA so that they understand that we treat their information as confidential, and they feel comfortable that we're not going to just go sell it or something like that. So just reach out on southernmass.com, and then I have a dedicated sales team that will actually physically contact you. We call people. We're not completely
automated
chat.
Yeah.
I love technology, and I love to try to automate processes as much as possible, but this is still an industry of relationships. All we have is time to sell, and so therefore it's a relationships and time. So just reach out at southernmatch.com.
It's almost like you close this out for me. Something I say at the end of almost every interview is time is the one thing we cannot manufacture. So
Right.
if they've shared their time with us today, we appreciate
Yeah,
that.
we appreciate it.
Thank you for closing that out for me, Frank.
You're welcome.
Thank you
Enjoyed
for
it.
opening the doors. I'm glad the code system let me in.
Yeah.
I'm glad you let me in, and really a fascinating shop. Keep up the great work. We truly appreciate you. And for everyone watching, time is the one thing we cannot manufacture more of. So spend time with Southern Machine Works here out in Oklahoma. Been doing it a long time, has invested in the technology, has the certifications you need, and working in the microns now. And if you want to play golf or join Frank for dinner,
Yeah.
he still does that as well, even though all the digital stuff is here. So thank you all for watching. We'll see you again soon.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much, Frank.